There is a paradigm about how the world of arts in India looks at politics today, isn't it? Or rather, civil society looks at politics, because on one hand, as you correctly point out, there is so many people saying we don't have anything to do with politics, we're apolitical. However, at a different level, there is an upsurge of interest into politics, with a whole new bunch of younger politicians saying anybody can join politics. Rahul Gandhi will come out and say we will take anybody. Look at all the MPs that
we've got. But if you see all the young politicians,
they are all
there
somebody's
because
sons.
Somebody's sons or somebody's daughters.
But there is that sense in a lot of the younger MPs that Rahul Gandhi, for instance, or some other parties have
when Obama won, there was this lot of thing about is there an Indian Obama?
Correct.
If he can become the president, is there somebody here who can? And
how do you balance that the apoliticalness in some senses and the sort of renewed interest? Are there two parallel streams in your mind?
I think in our country, everything is full of contradictions. It is a land of paradoxes. It's not a land of this or that. So you have a lot of, especially if you go to smaller towns, in fact, you'll find more political people.
That's right.
People who are actually active in it, who actually know what's going on the ground, etc. Secondly, there can be also superficial engagement with politics. If you remember, just before the elections, there were all these celebrities, endorsing it, saying come out and vote, and especially in Bombay, all the film stars, and so it seemed like there was a great buzz about the election.
And then
and when the election happened, when one actually saw the figures, they were dismal.
That's right.
So, what is projected and what is the reality sometimes gets confusing, because what is projected is what we see. And largely our real contact with people is becoming less and less. That's why with every election we are all surprised, because I don't think people really know the pulse of people. We are getting away from it. So I think there are people who are engaged in politics, and also there are people who are largely, they would like to believe they are apolitical. And I think that upper middle class or middle class is not representative of the whole country. So we shouldn't really take that as an example.
Let me ask you then, in the arts, the world that you come from, in the parallel cinema movement, it's no longer called parallel cinema in India at all.
And a movement for sure, no.
When the parallel cinema movement happened in India, it was a distinct stream of thought.
Absolutely.
It's no longer that distinct stream of thought.
But that time it was also a reaction to sort of mainstream commercial cinema.
Right.
Because if you see films of the 50s and 60s, there wasn't this art and commercial. If you see Guru Dutt's films or Bimal Roy's films or Raj Kapoor's films even, they had sort of some sense in terms of the story. The content was very strong. There was music, there was dance, there were emotions. It was political. The protagonist was either a worker or a farmer or somebody from the real world, from society at large. You see the protagonist today. I mean, he's from South Bombay and, eats in New York and sort of dances in another country, and it's just completely changed.
But some would say therein lies, while you point out correctly that the protagonists of Indian cinema have changed, but India itself has changed, hasn't it? And maybe some of the cinema...
Has it changed as dramatically as the protagonist in the mainstream cinema has changed?
Has it changed for the people who are actually absorbing the cinema that's being produced by Hindi cinema today? Because if the multiplex audience is watching stories about themselves, many of them lead the lives that are being played out in the movies.
Or want to lead the life.
Or want to lead the life aspire to lead the life that's being played out in the movies. Why should that be a problem?
It's not a problem. Just to finish the earlier thoughts, that when these films were there, which were neither art or commercial, then sort of more mainstream cinema or more commercial cinema started happening, there were a group of filmmakers who said, well, what about these other stories? What if I don't want to have a song in a film? What about the story of this woman? And that, therefore Ankur and Bhumika and Manthan and Mrinal Sen's film and Shyam Benegal's and Govind Nihalani and Mani Kaul, and there were a whole lot of Adur Gopalakrishnan, whether in the South or Bengal or wherever. All these films started emerging. And then again it felt like they were very alienated from the masses, so to say.
That's right.
And then there was another reaction to it. So now, as you rightly said, there is an amalgamation of many different things, and we call them multiplex films, middle of the road films, crossover films. Some new names keep evolving. But what you said at the end about these films, are they really stories that the audiences want to watch? I think when we talk of multiplexes, we are still limiting ourselves to Delhi, Bombay, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Calcutta. We are still taking that as the sample. When these multiplex films, which really cost quite a bomb, and it's a whole package deal with your popcorn and whatever, it's an expensive outing that only a certain class can really enjoy. So what happens to all others? What happens to the larger population, which is probably 80% of India, either watches films on television or watches in smaller theatres? Where are those films? So you get all these A grade, B and C and D, and the films that you and I probably don't even know that exist. When we say 1,000 films are made in the country,
what are those
1,000 films? So we only know of those 3 or 4 that actually become hits, or those 10 that you read about. So to be honest, I know very little about the mainstream cinema. I didn't grow up watching films. It wasn't an instinctive or a conscious choice to either be in it. When you don't watch it, you never aspire to be in it. And often it's seen as I'm kind of looking at it with some disdain or looking down upon it. But it's just that I never really grew up on it and never really developed a taste for it. So I also have very little knowledge of it.
Does it disturb you today as an actress that this reflection that you seek in cinema does not
really exist?
Yeah.
Well, I think if I was an ambitious actress, if that was my only work, I think I would be quite frustrated. But considering I'm fairly laid back, as you know, you're in my house in Delhi, which has no films and is far away from the industry, and I do various other things. So I think it sometimes is frustrating because you feel, when you see a wonderful film, in world cinema, I travel a lot, I go to various festivals,
right.
You see small countries like Taiwan and, countries that have so much repression like Iran, and you see films from Korea and Poland and coming up with such gems. I mean, Romania makes 5 films a year and, it goes and wins the Palme d'Or at Cannes, not just because it won an award, but it's just a beautiful, sensitive storytelling. And you wonder that here we make 1,000 films, we have so many talented people, whether it's actors or writers or directors. What is it that's not going right? Is economics interfering with art at every stage? So I don't know.
And the question that many people want to ask before the downturn, again after the downturn, isn't economics and art integrally integrated in some senses? Because when you make a film, and you made a film, and you made a film that was widely acclaimed, were you disappointed that it didn't get the kind of commercial success that you perhaps thought it would?
Well, there's no level playing to begin with. You can only gauge whether a film has done well or not, or what people think of it, if there's level playing. When a marketing budget of a big film is more than the overall budget in which Firaaq was even made,
sure.
Right? So you can imagine what the marketing budget is.
Right.
Also, producers who produce these films, and I don't want to generalize, but often when they make it, I think they don't really go all the way. I don't think they really have faith in films like this to say, okay, I believe in this film. Let me not push it in they sort of call it a festival film or a niche film, and they give these names and put blinders before it even has a fair chance of going out. Because people, we intellectualize much more. In general, people, when they see a film, they want to be stirred in their heart and mind without even making those divisions.
Correct.
Either the story speaks to you or it doesn't.
Yeah, sure.
So, when my driver, who saw the first screening, in fact, that happened in Delhi, and when he came out and he was completely shaken, and all he said was, "Didi, log itna ladte kyun hai? I mean, why do people fight so much?" And he was just visibly completely shaken. So, who am I to say whether he'll understand or not? At least give him the chance. At least show the film to him. Let him decide. But
and
because
is that
everything
what you think stops films like yours from
Absolutely, because its making is just one part of it. I mean, I hats off to people who are so prolific, who can make film one after another, because all your energies are completely out by the time you finish the film. And then you realize, my God, this is not even half the battle. You still have the whole thing about marketing and promoting, and that's where economics and all these jazz has become so much more important, that the content has less to do. I mean, it's all about how you package it. And if you don't have people, your producers, to back it up in the same way or to package it correctly, you're at a loss, because I'm not a packaging person. I don't understand anything about it. So you want someone else to take care of it. If you are going to be in the same arena and you're going to have to compete with the big sharks, what do? It has been a satisfying journey. Of course, it could have been in another way. I mean, I wish there were more films and more filmmakers, and not all good films come to me.